As we said earlier, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And how will you tell time if not with a beautiful watch? That was a bad segue, sorry. High-end watchmakers showed off new luxury timepieces during this year's WatchTime event in New York City. This is the all-important Christmas season approaches. The market they're aiming at might surprise you. Joining us with takeaways from the event is Yahoo Finance's Pras Subramanian. Pras, it's interesting, like it feels a little weird to be talking about luxury watches right now when we're talking about economic slowdown, but there's obviously still a market.
Yeah, big time market, especially in certain pockets of the world. You know, we went to this event. This is the biggest watch event on the East Coast, back in full force here after the pandemic. Spoke to a bunch of large brands, even some small and up-and-coming brands, about what's going on in the industry. One big trend we saw, they're laser focused on the resilient and growing U.S. market. Ron Stahl of Carl F. Bucher told us about that.
The U.S. is on fire again. You know, the U.S. came out of COVID and watches are back at an all-time high. The excitement, the enthusiasm, I mean, America's really driving the watch market from all angles.
You might remember Carl F. Bucher. They were in the John Wick films. That's the watch that he wore amongst all the bad guys. Anyway, so strength in the U.S. where traditional markets like Asia slowed down a bit because of the pandemic. Another effect of the pandemic, supply chain issues even in the specialized watch industry. Gilles English, who's the co-founder of Bremont, a big British watch brand, told us about that recently and how hard it is to meet demand.
Any supply chain out there, if I want to get a seal for a watch, it used to be 6 months, now it's 18 months. So that's why even more important that we manufacture more. Global currency is a challenge, the strength of the dollar. So if you're buying anything in dollars or anything in Swiss franc, which mirrors the dollar, that's definitely a challenge. But you have a natural hedge by selling in US dollars, so that's important for us.
So Bremont, they had their new Supernova watch there, which is an in-house movement, which is a big deal for a small watch brand to devote the R&D to make that kind of bespoke in-house movement for a watch that might sell only in the thousands.
I mean, these watches look good, and clearly that there is some resilient demand from the higher income or more affluent consumers out there. What is really driving some of the demand right now from what they were telling you?
You know, it seems like a lot of it is kind of like a bunch of factors. You know, you have new collectors coming in, you have people kind of driving this trend that kind of sat out the pandemic, didn't spend any money on travel and things like that. So they kind of got interested in watches. You saw the hype watch effect on Instagram, kind of having those must-have watches, what people kind of are sort of lusting after. And it's, you know, it's jewelry, it's driven by men, but also young people, also women. We saw a lot of women at the show compared to last year. So a lot of collectors out there. So we spoke to the CEO of co-CEO of Oris, which is like a kind of a storied Swiss brand that's been around for a long time. They were private for a while, or they were owned by Swatch. They're private now. Having a big moment now, some really cool kind of watches. So here's what Rolf Studer had to say. He's the co-CEO.
Well, all indicators basically are red, right? Inflation, the economy slowing down a little bit, but we don't see no stop at all. And I think it's related to the pandemic. People had a lot of time to learn about mechanical watches, and it has become a much more important topic in their lives, and they are ready to still spend money on mechanical watches, spend more money on mechanical watches because they know more. So no, at the moment we really don't see any downturn as we did in other difficult times before.
So no downturns yet. I did try on one of their watches with the Salmon Dial Pro Pilot X titanium watch. Beautiful watch, also an in-house movement, so that's a big deal for a brand like Oris.
What do you call watches on TikTok? Like, is it TikTok? Like, what is there a watch?
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Is there a watch? Like, how does that? No.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Like, what do you? I think I'm watching this. I'm thinking. Remember when the Apple Watch came out, and everybody thought the Apple Watch would kill the watch industry? But I see this. I see a lot of innovation. As a watch guy, this is next level stuff here.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I thought the same thing, right? And I think there was a little effect with the Apple Watch. A lot of people bought into that. What's the point of having an old watch? But I guess it's the same kind of feeling you get with an older classic car, for instance. You kind of like the fact that it's a very simple thing, a mechanical thing. It works on its own. You can work on it too. So I think there's a little bit of an appeal or fascination with these older, timepieces that can actually last hundreds of years if you care for them.
It was a great analogy, especially for the classic car guru here, that both of you are. Pras, thanks so much for taking the time. Excellent work.
Taking the time.
Oh, man. The Huns just TikTok. Themselves. All right, guys, we're running out of time here.